Hey everyone, check that out. That is a keto bun with sausage. And that's what we're going to make today. They're yummy. It's not quite like a nice fluffy white bread bun, but it's pretty good. So let's do it. Ingredients. We're going to start off with organic oat fiber. Now it's oat fiber flour as opposed to regular oat flour. There is a difference. We also need some vital wheat gluten, and to round it all out, some ground flaxseed, which of course I stupidly didn't buy the ground. Now you could grind it yourself. I just said, hey, let's put the flaxseed in. We also need a cup and a half of warm water, packet of yeast, some maple syrup to help activate the yeast, and a little bit of salt. Oh, and a spray bottle with water. So let's get to it. We got to make us some dough. So I've got a stand mixer. That's the bowl for it. And to that we're going to put our cup and a half of warm water. You don't want hot. You don't want cold. Warm so that the yeast activates. There's our 1 packet of yeast. And to help activate the yeast, 1 teaspoon of pure maple syrup, not the fake stuff. Well, I guess you could use the fake. And this is going to get eaten up by the yeast. And how do we know? Well, because the yeast needs stuff to activate it. Now, I'm just going to give her a stir just to kind of mix it around. That way the yeast can absorb it. And then we'll do a nice quick time lapse. And check this out. This is pretty cool. Takes a minute or two. I think I waited about 10 minutes for it to finally bloom. But see, look at that. Oh, that's so cool. And that's how you know your yeast is working. It blooms into this nice big frothy thing. Pretty cool. All right. Looking good. I've got my measuring mug out. And we're going to put in half a cup of the oat fiber flour. Next up is the wheat gluten, the vital wheat gluten. I don't know if there's a difference. 1 1/3 cup of this, which is real powdery, more fine than icing sugar. So you got to watch it. You don't want to be snorting that up. So there's a 1 1/3. And then the last part is 2/3 cup of the ground flaxseed, or in my case, just the regular flaxseed. Now I've got my mixer, but I'm going to kind of start mixing, and I guess if you don't have a stand mixer, you're stuck kind of doing it on your own, unfortunately. So here's my stand mixer, which is heavy. We got to put a dough hook on. There we go. We're in. Put it on low. And make sure your bowl is attached. So we fix that, and away we go. Now this dough, I gotta tell you, is dense. It's a lot denser than any of the other doughs I've worked with. But eventually you want it so it's all off the bowl. It's kind of looking like that. And that's what we're going to work with. So let's get our bowl out of the mixer. Get the mixer out of the way. And I got this cool mat that I think I might have used once before. But this way I can use it. I'm not getting all over the table. I also, you know, when you're working with dough, how you got to have a little extra flour to spread around the mat and that. I went and got a little dish with some oat fiber. So I had that to work with because it was still sticky, the dough. When I've worked with regular dough, you got to have the flour on hand because it gets all over your hands, it gets all over the board. So I kind of gave it a little sprinkle, a little coat with the oat fiber, and that helped a lot. At the end of the day, I'm going to end up with 9 pieces of dough to make our buns. Now, honestly, I have a kitchen scale. I don't know why I didn't use it. I decided to eyeball it. So if you really want, you got a kitchen scale, use that. It'll make your life a lot easier. It doesn't have to be perfect either, but I learned a lot doing this. So when I do it again, and I am going to do it again, I got a couple other ideas to use the dough for. I've learned a lot from this one, what to do, what not to do. There we go. Well, I think we've got it. I now have 8 decent dough balls. Put them aside. Now with a rolling pin, and I always have the worst time with rolling pins. I really am not a baker. I try. You want to roll these out. I'm kind of like that. I did get better. So that's about the size you want, about 4 inches long. And then you're going to take the one end and just roll it up, kind of cigar shape, like that. And I'm thinking, yeah, these are looking pretty good as far as bun size go. Boy, was I off. Then you're going to go from one end to the other and pinch the seam that's at the end, right? And then you're going to cup your hands and kind of roll it out so it kind of takes care of that seam. Now, the recipe I saw, the woman kind of made it into sweet potato kind of looking where it tapered off at the ends. Well, I didn't want to do that, but even if I did, I had a hell of a time doing it. So I thought, hey, I'll just make them like bun size because that's what I want anyway. And when I'm done, there's all our buns. Don't they look cool? Now, having done this, here's big mistake number one. They look too small. For the sausages I made, they were way too big. Anyhow, some plastic wrap or a nice clean damp towel. We're going to put this, actually I warmed up the oven. Don't warm it up to 350, but I warmed it up to as low as it could go, not even. Hour and a half. You can see how they've grown. Took the plastic off. They're just about ready to go into the oven. So while I'm doing this, the oven needs to go up 400. So you spray the buns, then you slice a good slice on the top of the bun. So when it expands in the oven, it's it's got nowhere to expand but right there. Now, mistake number two. These things had already risen, so it was bad enough cutting them to leave kind of a somewhere for it to rise to, but then I had to go and kind of stretch them out in that, and they lost some of their poofiness. Once again, live and learn. Why play with it? So I tried to fix it. I put the plastic back on, set it aside for 20 minutes, and they didn't really poof back up like I wanted them to. They did a little bit, but not enough. Spray them again, put them in the oven. They're going to bake for 30 minutes. However, check them at the 15-20 minute mark. And there you go. They look kind of nice and toasty brown. However, the bottom was just a little too hard, so I got to use a knife to kind of cut it. Now, these buns are going to be dense, like I said. And it's going to taste of flaxseed. But they weren't bad. I mean, they were kind of good. They kind of complemented the sausage, I thought. I'm trying to actually slice them into hot dog buns or sausage buns, which I kind of imagine. And here's our sausages in our pan, nice and hot. So I've got a plate, and let me show you. There's one of our buns. And see, it's not the easiest to get in there. Oh, I wish I hadn't messed around with it. It would have poofed up quite a bit more. But we did manage, just like that. Some mustard, maybe some onions. Now it's time to dig in. Hey, another great recipe. I hope you'll give it a try. Leave me a comment below, one way or the other. Listen, if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell because that'll tell you the next time I upload a video. Feel free to share this and any of my other videos. And thanks for stopping by and watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.